You look lovely.
Thank you, so do you.
Before we get into it,
She never realized the cameras were still rolling. Behind that perfect smile, her voice dropped to a whisper, revealing a side of Meghan Markle that would finally shatter the facade she'd spent years constructing. "My lord, I will do anything for your privacy," she murmured. But privacy was the last thing she'd find as a $10 million lawsuit, a Netflix disaster, and her own carefully crafted image began crumbling before millions of watching eyes. You deserve to know what really happened. I'm working hard to build this channel, and I'd truly love your help. Why not hit subscribe and be part of this journey? The bath salt scandal. It started with a recipe, a simple homemade bath salt mix.
It's allegedly from the Duchess's do-it-yourself bath salt recipe. This is a recipe that Kinsey featured on her Netflix show. What else can you tell me about this?
Well, I could tell you I spoke to 2 attorneys about this. Both said this potential lawsuit could, no pun intended, have left.
Featured in Meghan Markle's Netflix series that was supposed to showcase her down-to-earth domesticity. Instead, it spiraled into a legal firestorm that exposed just how fragile her carefully constructed brand had become. A woman now claims that following Meghan's instructions left her with catastrophic burns across her skin. She's threatening to sue for $10 million, and according to Hollywood attorney Christopher Melcher, the case isn't just tabloid noise. It has legitimate legal merit. Netflix could have, and absolutely should have, placed a disclaimer on screen to protect themselves, Melcher explained. Without that basic warning to consult medical professionals, they've left themselves completely exposed. The most damning part?
Attorney Christopher Melcher, who's based in Hollywood here, told me that Netflix could have and probably should have put a disclaimer on the screen to save their own skin, saying, consult a doctor or seek medical advice if you're looking for something specific. Now, the Meghan fan, this is crazy, said she's willing to resolve the matter without litigation if a financial settlement can be reached. Feels like a little bit of a shakedown. But if her demands are not met, she intends to launch a lawsuit seeking settlement damages of a minimum of $75,000 to cover medical expenses.
The alleged victim stated she's willing to resolve the matter without litigation if a financial settlement can be reached. Language that sounds suspiciously like a shakedown. But whether it's opportunism or genuine harm, the damage to Meghan's image was immediate and severe. Did you know that product liability cases involving celebrities typically settle for 40% more than similar cases with non-famous defendants?
This is going to be fascinating, because if there is some sort of a settlement, I expect to see a lot of other people coming forward with their own stories. You don't want to incentivize that kind of behavior if it's not genuine.
The celebrity tax makes these cases particularly attractive to potential plaintiffs. As legal experts began weighing in, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just about bath salts. It was the first visible crack in a foundation that had been silently weakening for months. And as one insider put it, if there's a settlement, expect the floodgates to open.
And to Spotify, the critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
Netflix's quiet betrayal. While the lawsuit made headlines, something far more devastating was brewing behind the scenes. Meghan's big passion project, a cozy, heartwarming cooking show meant to rebrand her as America's new domestic goddess, was quietly scrapped by Netflix. Not delayed, not reworked, just gone. The first warning sign came during a promotional clip, where Meghan, attempting to zest a lemon, handled the tool so awkwardly that one early viewer joked, "I thought she was going to cut her wrist. This girl has never been in a kitchen in her life."
She is doing a cooking show on Netflix. I only watched 5 seconds of it, and I thought she was going to cut her wrist by trying to zest a lemon. This girl has never been in the kitchen in her life.
The moment, caught in harsh, unforgiving light, revealed a woman playing at domesticity rather than living it. For Netflix, known for polished, authentic content, the contrast between Meghan's carefully crafted image and her visible discomfort in the kitchen created a risk they weren't willing to take. Sources close to production confirmed the show won't make it past its second season, a devastating blow to her rebranding efforts. But Meghan didn't take the cancellation lightly. Behind closed doors, witnesses described a scene that would make palace staff nod in recognition. Accusations flew, phones rang frantically, and fury erupted.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
"Oh my gosh, I worked so hard," she reportedly cried, the mask of serene confidence temporarily slipping to reveal raw frustration beneath. The kitchen smelled of burnt sugar and damage control as publicists scrambled to spin the story. But the brutal truth was inescapable. Critics had called the entire concept tone-deaf from the beginning. A duchess baking banana bread for middle America. The disconnect was too glaring to ignore. And as one project crumbled, another meant to showcase her most authentic self turned out to be even more damaging. The no makeup performance. When Meghan launched her new podcast,
she has this really famous thing where she says one tap left eye and she can make herself cry.
During promotion for Suits, she was joking with one of the photographers that she can cry on command. Left eye, go. And then you watch a tear fall down her face, and then she starts cackling because she's so proud of her.
She made a bold choice to appear stripped down, raw, and real. No glam team, no royal protocol, just honest conversation. The episode featured billionaire entrepreneur Jaime Kern Lima, a self-made success with an inspiring story. "This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on for you," Meghan said, her voice trembling with seemingly genuine emotion. But viewers immediately noticed something off. Her hair was perfectly styled, her skin glowed flawlessly, and despite the shaking voice, not a single tear appeared.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending that she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
The internet tore the performance apart within hours. She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got the perfect blowout, completely camera ready, and she's pretending she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. One viral comment read, "Did you know that professional actors learn the technique of emotional recall, where they can simulate crying by accessing past emotional memories? It's a standard skill taught in acting classes." The most damaging revelation came from a former colleague who shared an uncomfortable truth. During promotion for Suits, she was joking with photographers that she can cry on command. Left eye, go. And then you watch a tear fall down her face before she starts cackling because she's so proud of herself. For a podcast episode built around authenticity,
Here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
No.
the theatrical performance felt jarringly calculated. The questions seemed pre-screened, the compliments non-stop, and the chemistry painfully forced. What should have been an intimate conversation unfolded like a meticulously planned publicity stunt. For a show billed as raw, it felt as manufactured as a royal photo op. What should have repaired her public image only widened the gap between who she claimed to be and who people suspected she truly was. Still here? That means this story matters to you too. If you haven't yet, please tap subscribe. It would mean the world to me as we uncover even more. The royal title slip-up.
You haven't seen any of the questions ahead of time, and we're in our sweats, and you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup, and we're just...
That's very generous.
While Meghan was pushing the narrative of a down-to-earth, rebranded lifestyle, something slipped through that exposed just how tightly she was still clinging to the crown behind closed doors. She sent gift baskets to friends, seemingly harmless, filled with homemade preserves and artisanal toppings. But it wasn't the jam that caused a media explosion. It was the signature. Each basket included a handwritten card signed,
You dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream.
Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. The critical problem: that title was officially stripped after Meghan and Harry stepped down from royal duties. Queen Elizabeth had made it crystal clear, you can't be half in, half out of the monarchy. When the signature leaked to social media,
Won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
the backlash was instant and brutal. I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness, noted one royal commentator. Why, even in private correspondence, is she using that full title? The cool blue ink on cream stationery revealed something her carefully crafted public statements couldn't hide: a disconnect between her words and actions. While publicly declaring independence from the institution, she was privately holding tight to its most valuable currency: royal status. Did you know that using royal titles for commercial purposes is explicitly forbidden under the agreement Harry and Meghan reached when leaving their official duties? The palace specifically prohibited them from presenting themselves as still representing the monarchy. Even longtime supporters had to admit it looked like a quiet attempt to keep one foot in the royal world while publicly claiming to have left it all behind. The signature revealed not just a branding strategy, but perhaps a deeper truth about identity and belonging that Meghan herself seemed unwilling to confront. And if that wasn't enough to raise eyebrows, what came next would make even her fans start asking,
This was one of the most every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen.
I can't.
Look at this.
I can't.
is any of this real? American Fever, the brand collapse. Meghan's next big move was supposed to be her defining one: American Riviera Orchard, a lifestyle brand designed to position her as the modern Martha Stewart. Think organic jams, delicate preserves, and curated kitchen items, all wrapped in pastel tones and soft focus photography. But the launch didn't scream success. It screamed damage control. The products sold out instantly, generating breathless headlines about demand. But customers quickly noticed something odd. Barely anyone actually received what they ordered. Complaints flooded social media. Tracking numbers didn't work. Refunds weren't processed, and customer service went silent. When people dug deeper, the uncomfortable truth surfaced. There was barely any inventory to begin with. The sellout looked more like a manufactured PR move than genuine demand. Critics weren't shy about their accusations. Meghan was running a fake scarcity campaign to inflate hype while delivering very little. The rusty orange sunset hues of her brand's packaging contrasted sharply with the increasingly dark storm clouds gathering over her reputation. It didn't help that prices were sky high. Handmade jam jars going for luxury brand prices that made the wholesome image clash with what looked like a high-end cash grab. Did you know that Meghan has filed for trademarks on everything from yoga mats to pet bowls under the American Riviera Orchard name? The extensive trademark applications suggest plans for a vast commercial empire rather than the boutique, authentic brand initially promoted. In one particularly tone-deaf interview, she complained about the stress of running the business. The moment everything sells out, it doesn't mean we're done. It means we're working on replenishment. And what are the next SKUs? And what's the next tranche of products? And what's the timing on that? And writing the newsletters. To many listeners, it sounded like she was describing the normal workday most people experience without complaint. The woman who once said she wanted privacy and purpose now looked like she was slapping a logo on anything she could monetize. But all of that would pale in comparison to what came next. A public appearance that turned her into a meme and sparked a backlash she never saw coming.
Happened to Spotify. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
The final blow. Victim fatigue. The Time 100 Summit was supposed to be a turning point, Meghan's chance to reclaim her narrative on a global stage. Instead, it became one of her most mocked appearances to date. When asked about her daily joys, Meghan waxed poetic about sprinkling dried flower petals on scrambled eggs, calling it a tiny moment of joy that creates a little bit of magic that we're all craving. The internet responded instantly. Word salad, critics called it. One viral post summed it up. She's talking like she's never made breakfast in her life.
They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Despite not being on the actual Time 100 list that year, she was still given a speaking spot, leading many to suspect her agency pulled strings to keep her visible. As public patience wore thin, the final blow came from an unexpected direction: her husband. In a BBC interview, Harry warned that if anything were to happen to him, Meghan, or their children, the blame would lie with his father, King Charles. "Look where the responsibility lies," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. The timing couldn't have been worse. The king was battling cancer, and Harry's comments landed like a gut punch. Critics called it emotional blackmail wrapped in royal guilt. Inside the palace, sources claimed Charles was stunned, reportedly telling aides he could no longer trust private conversations with his son. The heavy silence that followed the interview in royal circles contrasted sharply.
As soon as Meghan Markle made it absolutely clear that it was all about the moolah, it was all about the big bucks, it was all about trading off the royal name, but she was lining up these deals when she was still the Duchess of Sussex. She was in talks with Disney, she was in talks with the publishing companies, in talks with Netflix. At that point, the late Queen Elizabeth II, quite rightly in my opinion, said, no, there is no half in, half out. So you go with our blessing, but you lose everything.
With the explosion of criticism online, a phrase kept echoing across social media: enough is enough. For years, Meghan and Harry had mastered the art of controlling their narrative: heartbreak, betrayal, healing, repeat. But that formula was no longer landing the way it used to. Audiences who once sympathized with their royal exit were now experiencing what commentators called victim fatigue. Every project, from the podcast to the lawsuits to the lifestyle brand, felt drenched in the same narrative: misunderstood, mistreated, and battling unseen enemies. But instead of empathy, many now saw strategy. The bitter taste of disillusionment spread as even former fans began speaking up. Comment sections once filled with support now overflowed with eye-roll emojis and comments like, "How many times can you leave the royal family before it sticks?" The final irony: Meghan and Harry once positioned themselves as rebels, escaping the cold, rigid walls of the monarchy to live a life of truth, freedom, and privacy. But after years of headlines, lawsuits, and failed media ventures, a darker question has surfaced. Did they really leave the royal machine, or just build one of their own? Every detail of their post-royal life has been meticulously branded. Vulnerability became content. Heartbreak became marketing. Even the most personal moments felt suspiciously crafted for public consumption. The very system they once escaped, where image is everything and perception is power, is exactly the one they're now running. Only this time, they're in charge. No palace, no protocol, but every bit as controlling, every bit as performative. For some, it's a tragic turn. For others, it's a calculated empire built on blurred truths. Whatever side you're on, one thing is clear: the fairy tale is over. Meghan and Harry may have left the royal family, but they didn't leave the spotlight. In fact, they may be clinging to it more desperately than ever. And if this lawsuit, Netflix collapse, and public unraveling are any indication, the story they've been selling might finally be running out of buyers. So, is this Meghan Markle's breaking point, or just another twist in a never-ending PR saga? Is the world finally done buying into the brand, or are we about to see her biggest reinvention yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. No filter, no fluff. And if you're just as curious about where this story goes next, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next chapter might be even more shocking than this one.